Welcome to the E Show, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Founded in 2013, the EHL is your next step on the path to college. Over the past decade, the EHL has established itself as the college placement leader on the East Coast. And now, here's your host, the commissioner of the Eastern Hockey League, Neil Ravin.
Thanks, Jim. And with that, let's bring in this week's singular E-Crew. Jeff, this is like old school. It's just me and you this week, buddy.
Me and you, pal. OG. Two old guys who've been up for hours. Just excited to record a new podcast. We're happy to be here. Happy to be with you, buddy.
Yeah,
Let's talk some EHL before we hit the holiday break, huh?
I guess I should have told Anthony, holiday break does not mean a break from the podcast, right? But
Ooh.
I digress. We'll get to that at a different point. But yes, we are officially on holiday break now. We wrapped up a little over 20 games combined between the EHL and EHLP over the past 5 days or so since we talked to you last, which was the post-showcase podcast. So let's break down exactly where things are at heading into the Christmas break and around the E-Show.
Let's take a look at what's going on around the E Show.
Around the E-Show is presented by BioSteel, the sports drink of the EHL. Use the promo code EHLB1, that's EHLB1, for 25% off when you check out at biosteel.com.
So with this around the E-Show, yeah, first, Jeff, it's Christmas. This is like hard to even think about because it's not even like it's really cold outside. Like it's been warm. Really. I mean, it's been cool. Like we haven't really dipped below 20 yet. I'm looking out my window and I still have this like in between my house and my neighbor's house. There's this like section of like woods that's just like flooded right now from the other day. And it's
I was just going to ask if you had any flooding. You read my mind.
Oh God. Like it was just like,
that was a hell of a storm, huh?
Oh God. Yeah. And it's like, I'm looking at standing water and it's December 21st.
That feels like a spring issue.
Doesn't really make a lot of sense, right?
No, it feels kind of like April, like post-frozen vinyls issue when it gets warm and rains cats and dogs.
And I'm not sure, how Christina feels, but like Vicky is always like, I want a white Christmas. And it's like, well, you ain't getting one, probably. like the way this thing
4 days away.
The way this is trending, if it snows, that would be very surprising to a lot of people.
Yeah, I think both of our wives agree on that they both like White Christmas. But as of right now, it's looking like 48 degrees and sunny on Christmas morning. So last time I checked, I'm not a meteorologist, but I think it has to be below freezing for it to snow. So
yes,
punch your DraftKings under on it not snowing.
Yeah, that's pretty good odds, right?
Right.
But she wants Chase to have snow for Christmas, and it's like, all right. He'll have snow around his birthday in February. Like that's kind of how we have
to. Chaser.
We have to just live with it now.
Yep. Happy 1 year old. You'll definitely get some snow in February. Yeah. We're gonna get it at some point. This winter's got to be hell right? At some point.
At some point, and I'm sure the teams would like that too because it would make the ice inside the rinks just that much better,
more crisp.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So. Speaking of crisp, though, let's just start with the Central Division. Why the hell not? CNC.
Why not?
I wanted to have Anthony on this because his go-to line, of course, is that Michael Jordan, and I took that personally, punchline or whatever. The Railers took Providence, ending their winning streak at 15 games, a month and a half ago. They took that personally. Circled
they did
2 days ago, the 19th on their calendar, and that was a Providence team that had won 6 straight games. Remember that, right?
They're like, oh, that's cute, a little 6-game winning streak. That's so cute, you guys.
Yeah,
here goes Marcus Christophidis with a hat trick. See you later. Goodbye.
I mean, it goes without saying, the Railers, Coach Bertoni and the Railers had that game circled. They had to have, right?
Yeah, I would say so. And Adam Casper, a shutout. So not only did they end the winning streak, but like you just said, 6-0. Like you really ended the winning streak. And it's interesting too, because wasn't it Matthews that was in net for the Providence game? I know they've been going back and forth.
No, they actually started Mateo Maduro in the first Providence. Yeah.
Option C if you had that for Railers goalies. Then.
Which I think they wanted to give him a chance as he's been one of their better EHLP kind of in between guys all year long too.
Yeah.
Probably, honestly, if I dug back in history, one of the youngest goalies to ever start an EHL game. He's an 06, remember, right?
That's right.
But you
I
said
think probably tied with Kevin Wright. Kevin Wright was
yeah.
I want to say he was an 06 when he
05. So
started.
yeah,
05?
so but when he first got in, probably around the same exact age, right?
Right, but we were talking about his parents used to bus him, Kevin Wright, from like weekend showcases to school. I was like, wait,
to
what?
School to
like,
school.
yeah, Kevin Wright's like a
exactly.
very smart kid, still in school. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
But I think you just gave away the star of the month in net for the EHL. I mean, did you see what
Isaac
Adam?
Salja-Ugi?
Well, he had a great
Adam
month.
Casper.
But look at what Casper did. 5-0. That
Yeah.
shutout was kind of like the punctuation point to the month. In the
Mhm.
4 other starts, 1 goal, 1 goal, 1 goal, 1 goal.
Yeah,
So
he hasn't given up more than 3 goals in a game yet this year. 3 or less every start.
wow.
That
Yeah, I
is
mean,
consistent.
11
very
1-0 with a
He's 13 games
1-2-8.
in.
Yeah.
Mhm.
9-4-9.
That's
The Seahawks
Is that
goalie had a
good,
good
Neil?
month as
Was
well.
Brittany Hart one say? Is that good?
Oh my god. Um,
Bring the old OGers back from the
yes.
dead.
Well, hey, you know what? We're 2 episodes away from episode 200, and Justin was
Oh.
like special guest Brittany, and I was like,
Brittany and the Beanbag. Remember Brittany and the Beanbag? Brittany and the Beanbag. Guys, I tired.
That
would be
I don't know if I
phenomenal.
could do that,
You
but
know,
we'll
fans
see.
would love it.
I have 2 weeks to think about it.
Brittany's still alive and well. She's working in youth hockey, folks, and we
Yes.
still love her dearly. She was at my wedding recently. We had a great time. We took an OGE crew picture, and yeah, there's your Brittany Hart update.
But the Railers win that one 6-0. That's how they enter the holiday break. We had a lot to talk about this on last week's podcast. You know, these teams that had a chance to play one more game after the showcase was over, how many of them would say it worked out. Others would say maybe that wasn't a good idea. For the Railers, obviously, a pretty emphatic victory to enter the break with. For the Apple Corps, they played one more game as well against the Connecticut Rough Riders. A very interesting start to that one. You know, this is nothing at the official. He wanted to call it the way that he did, but we had 6 warm-up violations called for players crossing the red line when they were collecting the pucks to put them away and get the Zamboni on the ice.
Who was reffing that game?
I didn't even bother to look up the name because I didn't want to know. And I was just like, wait a second. The Rough Riders in Apple Corps started with how many guys in the box? So
Gino call you already on that one?
No, we talked offline. Yeah. But it's like, okay.
Secret, folks.
But remember, that was a Rough Riders team that had won or just come off that showcase
3 games.
Right? And the Apple Corps, Ryan Kraushaw, deal of the century so far. I mean, if Casper's not the goalie of the month in December, Kraushaw, you mentioned the Seahawks goalie too, Salja, who did like Kraushaw has been perfect since he got there.
Yeah. And he's actually dating back to his last Chiefs start. He's won 7 in a row. He's 6-0 with the Apple Corps. 1-3-1 goals against. He's stopping 96% of the pucks he sees.
Yeah.
That's 96 of every 100 pucks come his way, he stops them.
Yeah. So who do I pick? Who do I pick, Jeff? 7-0 Kraushaw or 5-0 Casper? I'll figure it out later, right? But
maybe Kraushaw has got 2 more wins. Sorry, Casper. Maybe keep that up. But
the numbers are a little bit better for Casper. Like, I don't know. I really got to beat my head against the wall.
He's got the shutout in there.
Yes. Yep. And remember, this is for the stars of the month. We do 1 goalie. So a lot of the Express goalies are raising their hand too and saying, "What did we do this month?" So, anyways,
but yeah, the Apple Corps, that was a hell of a win though. They were very, very good at that Newington showcase, and 2 guys that were very good. I'm a twin. Love the Bankovitz twins. Welcome to the E Show, Bankovitz twins. 5 points each for the twins the other day. How's that for symmetry, Neil? Yeah. Michael, 4 goals and assists. Christopher, a goal and 4 assists.
Yeah, Michael is probably saying like I had the better game. And Christopher is saying, without me, you do not have that game. Right?
Exactly. And they talked about that with Jake. You can see their interview on our Eastern Hockey League Instagram page. They were phenomenal. And we keep telling you guys, I keep leaking into my games and podcasts. Don't be shy. Go see Jake. Like, we got to do the numbers on that because like 90% of the guys that he interviews score like that game after or like during the showcase. I swear to God. He did it with Grolo back at the regional showcase, I think it was.
Yeah.
The Bankovitzes, just names I can think of off the top of my head. That
He's
obviously
got that
post game's different, but the
little like
pregame
magic
interview.
touch, if you will.
Little sprinkle.
So
That's him.
obviously for those two teams, exactly how they wanted to enter the holiday break.
Yeah, I'd say so.
For the rest of the division, Providence beat the Chiefs Monday. Probably wishes they didn't have the Railways matchup Tuesday, but still, despite that one loss, had won, as we mentioned, 6 straight games going into it.
And they gave themselves a little distance now, right? Now that they're in third with 27 points, you got Rhode Island at fourth with 23, Chiefs fifth, 23, Rough Riders 14, because that was a lot more bunched up before we walked into that showcase.
A little distance, a 2-game 4-point gap. It still is some distance, right?
Tiny bit.
But they beat the Chiefs on Monday, and then the Chiefs, of course, responded with a win against the Rough Riders on Tuesday. Huge for them because the Rough Riders had won the first 3 matchups of that season series, and of course, remember the last place team in each division does not make the playoffs. So for the Rough Riders, obviously, everything was rolling well, but a tougher final 2-day stretch. And it's interesting where things stand. Obviously, Railers have an 8-point lead. Applecore then 10 points ahead of Providence. Then you mentioned, Jeff, Providence 4 points ahead of both Rhode Island and the Chiefs. And then the Rough Riders.
Hey, you think Bertoni and the crew would be cool with like redoing those 4 games against the Applecore? Would that be all right?
Well,
I'd like to see a redo.
Yeah, the 4 teams below are going to try and make it not the case. But if this thing trends the way that it's trending towards that Central Division Final Series, Anthony would label that as the best series of the 4, right? But it could be a good one. So sticking with the way it's laid out on our beautiful website, we'll go to the North Division next. Beautiful. And, we'll start with a team that is happy they played one more game, and that's the New Hampshire Avalanche, right? You take away you take away that loss to the Rangers in the showcase, and in their other 3 wins around it, 3 of their last 4, 7 goals, 6 goals, 6 goals. Besides the Rangers game, they're really scoring at will heading into 2024.
Yeah, and they get that scary, in multiple ways, look in their eyes after that Rangers loss. We won't get into the nitty gritty details about that 87s game that I called, but
yes,
because I don't know. I mean, I get it. Early season, you're pissed. You lost to that team last year, so emotions were a little high. We had a few fights. We don't condone fighting in junior hockey league, folks. But coaches didn't mind it. Big C was like, I kind of liked it in Holes. We talked to him. He was like, yeah, didn't really bother me too much. But yeah, I mean, if they can keep that up, if they can play with that, toe the line type personality from here on out down the stretch. And David Basin, how about, we talked about the Croshaw trade, Neil? How about David Basin?
Yeah,
he's 5 points. He's been scoring. He looks good on the power play. Robert Martiniello's back from his injury. He seems to be pretty healthy. And they just seem like they're getting Brendan Pecoraro. Actually, I talked to his dad. I forgot Liam was a Northeastern Husky. His dad saw my jacket and was like, hey, he's like, my son used to play for them. And I was like, who's your son? I was like, oh, Liam Pecoraro. Yeah, that's Brendan's brother. He's playing over in like Slovakia now.
Isn't it crazy how just like tight the hockey community really is? Like everyone's connected somehow.
They see a logo and they're like, bam, like literally connects them to the Pecoraro family, which Al Pecoraro, I just remembered his name.
Yes.
Liam played with Adam Gaudette. He was on the Beanpot championship team. So cool little nugget there for the rest of our EHL fans. But yeah, Avalanche, they look good. They look good. I think I'm still confident with I think I picked Avs to win the North in the way too early Frozen Finals picks, but we got some holiday stuff coming next week too, right? So we'll go too much into more picks and stuff.
Those are coming again next week. We reset those. Yes. You can't say way too early. We'll just call them the still too early. frozen
halfway
finals.
point.
Yes. But obviously they're pumped. They played one more game. It worked out great for them. So are the Wolves, right? They had a tough showcase in
Yeah.
Newington, but they get back on the ice for one more against Valley, and you kind of feel better now after picking up that 4-2 victory. If you had just gone straight into the holiday break, you're kind of looking at that streaks column of the standings the entire 2.5 weeks and saying like, ah man, it wasn't the best showcase for us, but a much better feeling coming off that win. And look who they're right side by side with. They're 14-10. You combine the overtime and shootout losses together. They're 14-10-4. Spartans are 14-10-3. The two teams that have faced off in the first round of the EHL playoffs the last 2 years. Are we just trending towards another Seacoast versus Wolves matchups? They're good every year. They're good matchups.
Yeah, it's looking like it. I mean, we didn't really get into Seacoast yet, but they have not looked very good down the stretch, if we're being totally honest. Love you trieds, but their only win, we were talking about it in our league chat, was against Rhode Island. And hey, I guess it was a good luck charm. I called that game. But they had a little bit of a struggle this month. Lost the other day too to the lost yesterday to the Warriors in their final game before the break. So
yeah,
I mean, we've talked about the Lumberjacks too, Neil. We've talked about the Warriors. So can we pencil in Spartans Wolves as a possible matchup? Maybe. I mean, now you're looking at games. Now we're over the halfway mark too, right? That's the big thing to look at. Spartans at 27, Lumberjacks 27. Valley's still cool at that 25 games. Express when we get into the East, they're at 24, but we play 46, folks. So do the math. That's 19 games left for most of those 27 games teams. And like for you to make huge jumps now, you got to have teams like literally crumble in front of you to make those jumps. So I guess I'd say long answer, pencil in Wolves, Spartans.
Well, they're in their own little like tier, if you will, right? The Avs have a 6-point lead over the Wolves, 7 over the Spartans. So the Avs are kind of fitting themselves into that one spot. Wolves and Spartans 2-3, and then just a 1-point gap separates Vermont and Valley. But Valley's got 2 games in hand, right? And one of those teams will not make the playoffs. So maybe
I like this ad.
Maybe in the Avalanche's mind. Remember, we go back and forth in the playoffs, right? So Avs say they finish number 1, don't have the crumble that you mentioned to give up a 6-point lead.
I don't think they're gonna.
Avs host game 1. Would they like to go to Vermont for game 2 or Haverhill for game 2?
I'd say Haverhill, but nice short run. Vermont is beautiful as it is.
Easier trip. Yeah. What's the better matchup, right? Of course, but you're not gonna, throw games here or there to make it happen. But it is a very clear now race between Valley and Vermont. One's in, one's out. What it feels like.
I think those Avs boys are still pissed about all the early rankings. I mean, they're in it now, but they're playing like they are. They look.
There's plenty of people that have an opinion about the rankings. Even hey, I've heard the Express too. So they're still
to this
Coda, to this day they're still called the Power Rankings, even though there is a petition in the league to call them Ravens Rankings. But we'll cover that in a future episode. But speaking of that Express team and the East Division, they've only played 24 games still. The Express have only played 24 games still. So when this game count catches
up, 46 eventually.
Yes, well, they have 3 games in hand over both teams that are in front of them, but those teams are only in front by 2 points. And the Express haven't lost to the Rangers or Wizards yet this year.
No, they dropped one of the Seahawks kind of surprisingly, but
well, and that's a great point because they had won 9 straight games, right? So. Are they a team that felt like, oh man, looking back, like maybe booking that one extra game after the showcase wasn't ideal for us? But at the same time, they have more games left than anybody else in the entire league in 2024.
22 and 24. And I just wanted to take a look too, because obviously those games kind of pile up. They have February is a short month. Not if you're donning an Express Hockey Club jersey. They have games on the 6th, 8th, 9th, 12th, 13th, 16th, 20th, 22nd, 24th, and 28th of February. And there's only 28 days, folks. That is a chunk of games.
March 1st through 4th, they'll have 3 games down in Philly for that showcase.
Finish off their year. Warriors, Avs, and Philly Hockey Club. Which I know we haven't gotten to the South yet, but oh, poor Barty Party. I saw another OT loss. We got to check in on him,
Yeah,
buddy.
we'll check on him soon
Wellness
for
check.
sure.
But yeah, I know
But
with the Express, I don't know, Neil. That's I mean, we all know Coach Coder pretty well at this point. I don't know. I mean, I think you're just kind of due for a loss here and there, especially when you shut out three straight teams with three different goalies. It's kind of like, I think it's more just like the hockey gods channel in and be like, you guys are good, but today, not so much. Here we go.
so 4 straight games that they've been in, one team has been shut out. They were doing the shutting out 3 times and they got shut out once. So
Mhm.
if their first game out of the holiday break, there's a shutout, like something's got to give here, guys. Like,
Yeah.
let both teams score. Start the game with an empty net on both sides. Each team get your goal in, and then we can just move on with this.
Right.
But they're all bunched at the top. Obviously, they're, as I mentioned, Rangers 20 wins, 7 losses. Haven't dropped a game in overtime or a shootout yet. That's kind of crazy to think about, right?
That's
You feel
weird.
like everyone always loses one or so here or there. Wizards 18-5-4. Express, same thing though. 19-5, no shootout, overtime losses. The cardiac kids, whatever you want to call them, the Boston Junior Terriers, every one of their games is a
Yeah.
1-goal game. 13, 10, and
every one of
3.
them.
Yeah, they're
Coach
kind of
Mulcahy's not appreciating that, boys. Can you cut it out? Same with Cody. Same with Cody.
they're kind of locked into 4 where they're at because they have a 9-point deficit, if you will, behind the third place team, who technically is like the first place team. But then they're
Right.
12 points up over the Seahawks. So, yeah, maybe if you compare it to the North Division, it feels like the Seahawks and Bandits are battling it out to see who gets to earn their spot in the playing game to take on those Terriers in Canton. So, coming out of this on the other side of the holiday break, that play-in game is only a little over 2 months away. So everyone just remember that. It's going to come up very fast.
Real quick with the Terriers, Neil, got to talk about our newest commitment, Connor Pete. Congratulations to St. Anselm. It's on the website, folks. Go check it out. I know Cody and Neil were really pumped about posting that. And is that their first commit of the new year? Or
That's their first commit of the season, of their history.
Okay.
Yeah.
So hey, let's give a Atkinson golf clap to the Boston Junior Terriers. You got your first of hopefully many to come. There will be. Neil and Cody are very, very good. They have connections near and wide. So that's just going to be the first of many for sure, because they have a lot of talented kids on that team that are definitely going to get looked at. The Van Antwerps, the Feinbergs. So that'll be definitely the first of many, but definitely congratulations to Pete and St. A's. Larry gets another good one from the AHL.
I love how 8, going to be 9 here in a second, like commitments came in right after the showcase ended.
Mm-hmm.
You guys couldn't space this out a little bit? Like, well, why hasn't my story been posted yet? We don't spend the entire day just post. Like there's other things going on too, right? Like I'm trying to
1,709 commits now.
Well, everyone has to have their chance for it to sit up there too, right? I don't want to just post one and then post another one and just step all over the previous one, right? So we've announced Tame Ellis so far of the Rangers to Albertus Madness. We announced Connor Pete to St. A's, and there's a few more coming throughout the holiday break. We have plenty of content to try to bridge the gap between when games ended and when they're going to start back up. But this East Division will be fun to watch, especially down the stretch. And then wrapping things up in the South, I think the Bears.
Weird place to be, huh?
Yeah, and the Bears probably didn't want to play any more games after the showcase ended, because imagine if it didn't go the way you wanted it to again. Like now the streak continues, but they do get a chance to kind of reset things over the break. Crazy to think that you could lose 6 straight games and still have a 7-point lead in the division. That it shows you how good they were coming out of the game.
Dominant. And that's what I talked about during I called a lot of 87s games over the showcase, and that's pretty much exactly what I said, Neil. It's just that shows your dominance. I mean, they'd lost, what was it, 2 games out of their first 21.
Yeah.
And to 100%. Develop that kind of lead, because the 87s have been a lot better recently. They just won 2 or 3 at the showcase. So they were chipping away, got that down to 7 points, but 7 points is still, that's 3 regulation wins and an overtime loss. So that's still a little bit of a smaller mountain to climb. It's now a hill instead of a mountain, I guess. But such a weird division to live in, though, still.
Oh, for sure. And the first 4 teams in that division, Bears 87, Huntsman, Little Flyers, none of them played after the showcase. So they all thought, let's get the showcase done and come back in the second half. Philly
Yep.
Hockey Club played Maryland Monday and probably thought maybe we should have done the same thing. I mean, my heart just goes out to these kids now at this point, right? They are tied for the league lead in terms of overtime losses and shootout losses combined. You get 2 or 3 extra points if you can flip one bounce here or there. It changes your spot in the standings. And right now they're tied with the Little Flyers for 4th place. So one of them would host the play-in game, and the other one would travel to take on their opponent. But then only 2 points
Team
behind
Maryland
them.
would go home.
Yeah,
Right now?
2 points behind them. But then look at the gap up to the Huntsmen. The gap between 3rd and 6th is 5 points. So you probably feel the best if you're the Bears or 87s, because instead 4 more points up for 87s in second place. But
yeah,
you can't have a streak like the Bears are going through if you're anybody in this division in the second half, because if you do,
no,
and the teams behind you trend upwards, you may be looking up at the other 5 teams in this division, unfortunately.
And I mean, especially Neil, for the Huntsman and Philly Hockey Club, they're at 29 games. They've played the most games in our league yet, so that means their season's real close to being done. They have 17 games left on the break or after the break. Good thing, the one team here, silver lining, Maryland, they've only played 25, so they still have a ton of games in hand against all the other teams in front of them to be able to make up the small gap that they currently have with the other teams right in front of them. So it's that time of year. You're starting to look at that game count. You're really starting to log into the daily scoreboard and root for whoever the heck's playing your division. So we will see, my friend.
Exactly. But that's where things stand in the EHL as we kind of tease there throughout. We'll come back next week with our 4 division champion picks, just like we did with our way too early picks, and we'll see who sticks the same, right? I mean, I picked the Spartans to win the North. They're not trending in the right direction right now. You look at our picks for the South Division: Maryland, Bears, Little Flyers, Bears. We'll see who thinks, we did those picks around Thanksgiving, right? So the impact of what teams did in December is the question on whether or not our crew will be changing some of our picks. But over
some of these additions. Actually, question again too: do we still freeze the rosters over holiday break? Okay, that's what I thought.
February 15th, the roster's officially freeze too. So you can't make any more additions after that. You can make internal moves, but no more additions. So, and you see
I guess. I feel like Coach Hooley's going to be making some. He's done a good job of that in the past. I think he's going to sprinkle a little bit of his. Speaking of connections, get another goal scorer or 2.
Look at what a move can do with Ryan Kraushaw. He's 7-0. Like 7-0. Like coming out of that.
And the guys love him too.
Yeah.
The Begovitz brothers talked about that in the interview with Jake.
Like, what an addition! I mean, again, like,
and
again
for Anthony Vernillo, a guy that wasn't easy for Lenny to make that decision. Vernillo had led the team in goals at that point and was a great player. I think he's a New York kid too, so like, from close by, either New York, New Jersey. So couldn't have been easy to make that decision, but those are why you get paid the big bucks. Big bucks.
Yes.
To make hard decisions like that, because you got to improve your team and you got to have a difference maker like a Crowshaw to kind of get them from where they were. I think they felt like they were treading water, the Apple Core, where they were idling a little bit, and now Crowshaw has taken them, and everyone else in front of them has started to take a step too.
Imagine if the Railers or Apple Core or both get knocked off early in the playoffs too. We'll never get to see this matchup. They don't play again.
Could happen, folks.
Right? It could happen. But obviously,
Coach Heffernan was talking about that with the Chiefs. He's like, "Listen, guys, we were real close."
Yes.
He talked about the year they played the 87s. Was that the COVID year when they got tried to get that wild card spot and almost beat them? So there's no certainties. Nope.
Yeah, for sure. Over to the EHLP though, starting the New England division where only 2 teams played, and that was Adirondack versus Vermont. We jokingly jabbed at the fact that if Adirondack took all 3, It would really, really separate them in their division. And they almost did so. They took 2 of the 3. Vermont salvaged the last game in that series. But the way that these standings currently set up, because we just did this in the EHL, Adirondack has an 11-point lead over the Avalanche, who, of course, have 2 games in hand, right? But 2 games are worth a max of 4 points, so you can't really make up that gap. Avalanche a 1-point lead over the Wolves, who have a 6-point lead over Vermont. So again, maybe I'm speaking too soon, but I can almost send that email that says Adirondack, book your 3-game series with Vermont. Wolves, book your 3-game series with the Fs. We're almost at that point. It's 1, 4, 2, 3, and funny how it works out geographically. It makes sense. Adirondack and Vermont are over here. The Wolves and Avalanche are over here. This was not rigged.
Next to each other.
This was not rigged. Fantasy is not rigged. We'll get to that in a minute. But
Power Beach.
Yes,
Joe Lachase.
That's interesting how those standings stand right now. In the Mid-Atlantic Division, the Huntsmen just continue to roll. They faced the Chiefs for 2 more games, won both of those games, and I think what I like about what the Huntsmen are saying in PA right now is that, yes, things are going well. They've had the 87s number in the regular season, and right now they'd be the number 1 seed, blah, blah, blah. But when push comes to shove and you get them in the playoffs, right? An 87 team that's won 2 of the last 3 EHLP championships, you have to win then. What takes place now does not matter if you don't win then. And the Huntsmen are doing everything they can to make sure that they're the number 1 seed going into that postseason in the Mid-Atlantic Division. And then in that regard, you'll host 2 of the potentially 3 games. So interesting for sure.
100%. And that's keeping my best friend Zach Overholtzer afloat right now with the EHLT go through their struggles. The PA Premier team is keeping them. Oh, damn it. I forgot. I'll wear it next week. He gave me this really cool PA Huntsman hat. I'll make sure I put that
yes, that was pretty sweet.
The episode next week. We'll send a selfie. We'll do all that cool stuff. But good for them in year 2. Blaze Kilroy and the Premier Huntsman doing a nice job, and they're continuing to develop guys and got a lot of Premier guys, Ryan Arendes and others up to the EHL team this year. So that's been a fun one to watch. But yeah, I mean, Connor McNeilis and the 87s Premier, they, like you said, they've won a championship. They know exactly what it takes to get there and get the job done. So not going to be an easy task in the slightest.
Yeah. And then we wrap up with the Boston Division, where the first 3 teams have combined to win 16 straight games.
That's it. That's it. That's the story, folks. Go home.
Just going to be very interesting to see who between the Railers and Rangers most likely finishes as the number 1 seed, and then who between the Express and Warriors finishes as the 3 and who's 4.
What a crime that is, huh? Having those 4 teams this season in the same division. If you put the Express in the Mid-Atlantic, they're 4 points out of first. You put them in New England, same thing, 4 points out of first.
Yeah.
Valley's right there, but no, you're looking at 15 points out of first right now, and you're still 15-6-2-1. That's just
it's pretty
gut
crazy.
Check.
It's pretty crazy how just rock solid that division truly has been. But we teased this a second ago. We have to get to fantasy because I got to get on my soapbox here for a second too as well. So let's go to the eShow Fantasy Challenge.
Now it's time for the eShow Fantasy Challenge. Follow along on the EHL app. Available now for free on both Apple iOS and Android.
So as we start off every fantasy episode, we touch on Yahoo Fantasy League. And what's funny, Jeff, they all tune in for this section of every podcast, right? But the bone I have to pick right now is with Ville Husso of the Red Wings, a team that I cheer on, Jeff, as you know, right? He is infuriating me. The week I don't play him, he has a great week. The week I do play him, he's like, I'm going to give up 3 and 5, and then I'm going to be injured and be done for the week. I'm just like you can't change the lineups daily. So once you lock in the week lineup, you're done, right? So last week I lose by 0.1.
Oh, I didn't even see that. Oh, Neil. My
I went to bed
condolences, man.
Sunday night and I was beating Ryan. I woke up on Monday to find out that so Monday was let me get my calendar out. I'm sorry. Hold please.
We have to be
Monday was the
correct.
18th, right? So
Mhm.
Sunday night, you must not have been following this. The Yahoo Fantasy League chat was like firing off
Oh, I
because
did see some
I
of
was
that.
like
Yep.
creeping up and catching Ryan, then I surpassed Ryan. And when the final game ended Sunday, I was up on Ryan. And then Monday morning, I wake up and I lose by 0.1 because stupid Yahoo Fantasy decides that, oh, it's the 17th going into the 18th. Hey,
Oh.
Trevor Moore, you were on the ice for a goal against on the 13th 4 freaking days ago. So we're gonna take away
Oh, no.
0.5 points from Neil, and that I was up by 0.4.
That was literally it. Trevor Moore, you son of a beep.
Like you couldn't
Time for
figure
you to
out that
send
plus minus before. You literally,
right?
you made me go to bed thinking I just stole a win because if you look at last week's matchups, Jeff, um, I would have lost to every other team in the league except for Ryan. We both had a bad week, right?
Yep.
Everybody else had a huge week. You had a huge week too, right?
I know, and I still lost to the first place team, Ted.
Yes.
I almost had you, Ted.
Yes.
I almost broke my losing streak.
But my
not
point is,
yet.
like, when you have a bad week
Still
like
2
I
and
did,
8.
you had a bad week like I did, like, if you could steal a win, you feel like it's almost like 2 wins. Instead, you punched me straight in the gut, Yahoo. And
Hey, you're
if
6-4.
yeah,
Each show commish 6-4. You're in 6th place. You're right in that mid spot, bud. Out of 12 teams.
well,
I'm in 10th. If you'd like to switch places, we can halfway do that.
well, and the next argument, maybe this is hypocritical because I don't remember what I said to Justin way back when. But the fact that 8 of the 12 teams make the playoffs, we are lunatics for that.
Right.
But there's like
Oh, that's it.
23.
8 out of 12. Okay.
There's 23 weeks in the season, right? So all you
Mhm.
have to do is be better than 4 other teams.
That would be correct.
Because
You just have to
truthfully,
be better than me, Jim McCabe, Phil Parker, and who's McCarr's pink caddy? Melissa.
yeah,
Okay.
like you only have to be better than a third of the
Right.
league in order to make the playoffs. Because it's not like if you are the 1 seed, you get an advantage over the 8 seed.
Right.
You just
Nope.
play 1
Who's
versus 8. So
whose week's gonna be better? Who's Trevor Moore is gonna screw you this week?
yeah, please.
Basically
Trevor
the
Moore,
playoffs.
like, if you weren't scoring goals, you'd be out of my lineup like Billy Huso will be next week. But
I'm with you on the goalie train though. Throw him and Vasilevsky in the same trash barrel because
Yeah.
that's what Vass has done to me. He sits on my bench, gets like 6,000 shutouts. You put him in, and he's like, "Oh, I give up goals this week. I don't know the stuff puck." Same with Gustafson, nasty on my bench. Put him on my freaking lineup. He sucks ass.
but this is my
Ottinger's
soapbox, right? So
Yep.
8 guys make the playoffs. So 1-8, 2-7, 3-6, 4-5. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you're the one, what difference does it make finishing the year, I don't know, 17-5, as opposed
Ted, huh?
as opposed to
8-2.
someone that
So cool.
finishes like 10-12 and gets in and then beats you in the first round.
That's gonna be me. I'm gonna finish 10-12.
Well,
Here I come. Watch out.
1 and 2 should get a bye.
They should.
And
then
then
it should
3
just
plays
be
6, 4 plays 5. Now you're down to 4. Once those teams, you get 2 winners. Now there's 4 teams left, and it makes more sense, right?
Yeah.
But I'm pissed about my 0.1 loss. But at the end of the day, I still have a big enough gap where if I don't fumble and lose every single week, and I win
Could be.
one of every 2, I'm probably still gonna get in,
Yeah, I'd say so.
right?
I'd say so.
So at the end of the day, as long as my team is healthy, I mean, that's my next soapbox. Jesus Christ. My injuries are really pissing me off. And I had an interesting trade offer from Ryan right now pending. I have Shea
You
Theodore.
do have injuries. Connor, Theodore, McCann.
Please. Yeah.
Huso. Wow. Yeah.
McAvoy was injured. Yep. It's fine. It's fine. We'll figure it out. But I have a trade offer right now. We love to review trade offers while we're on the podcast, Jeff.
Yeah, let's hear it.
The trade offer.
Connor McDavid for Trevor Moore.
Well, this one's actually interesting. Ryan is offering me Dougie Hamilton for Shea Theodore.
Who's also hurt.
Both hurt for a long time, right?
Whose prognosis is better than the other? I would say.
You want to know the answer to the trade offer, Ryan? I reject it because I can't stand the fact that Dougie Hamilton didn't want to play in a big city named Boston. So there
Love
you
it.
go. As Justin
Love
says,
it.
I play fantasy way too much with my heart and not my head. But that's
I do
fine.
too. I do
That's
too.
fine.
I try not to have any Montreal Canadiens, even though there's a million Northeastern Huskies that I love that are playing for him now. I know you've had Caden
Caden
Primo.
Primo.
I've thought about adding James Struble a couple of times, Jordan Harris.
Yeah.
But yeah, hate the Canadians. F
Yeah.
them.
But all right, I feel a little bit
You
better.
feel better?
I got a lot of
Good.
energy out there.
Excellent.
Listen,
So
again,
you have another soapbox to get on when we got to EHL fantasy, but
well, yeah, I'll
so
get
make
to
sure
that in
you
a second. And you know what, Ryan? If I really wanted Dougie Hamilton, I'd pick him in daily fantasy through
right.
DraftKings. I don't know if I'd pick him anytime goal scorer or anything like that on the sports book, but I could if I wanted to. And if I was a new
Mm-hmm.
customer, Jeff, DraftKings, those offers for new customers, they're not going away anytime soon.
No, no, no. They are not Commissioner Rabbit. So you can go download that app now and then use the code THPN. If you're a new customer, you're not, and I'm not. But new customers can get $150 instantly in bonus bets for betting $5 on hockey. Yes, folks, that is true. Bet five, get 150 instantly in bonus bets, and that's the code THPN. It's only on DraftKings Sportsbook, who's an official sports betting partner of the NHL. The crown is yours. Bonus bets do expire 168 hours after issuance, so do remember that. And do you have a gambling problem? If so, you can call 1-800-GAMBLER. You can visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, you can call 877-8-HOPENY, or you can text HOPENY, which would be 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. You can call 888-789-7777, or you can visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. You can void that if you're in Ontario. Bonus bets do expire 168 hours after issuance, as we said. See dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. Copyright NHL 2023. All rights are reserved.
To e-show fantasy we go, and Jeff, you kind of teased this earlier. A shout out to Howard Beach. I love how Joe Lachase, former Apple Corps forward, hit on Instagram. You put your name, first, last name, Neil Ravin, Jefferson
Right.
Mills, Howard Beach, not Joe Lachase. But awesome that an alum wins fantasy in December. I don't know. I just think that's so cool.
I think it is too.
An alum
Congratulations,
wins.
Joe.
Yeah.
He won by a mere, what, 2.2 points? Holy
2.2
crap.
points over Brooks Wright, who picked himself,
Ooh.
right? Tough.
Yeah.
Tough. Also had Tristan Boyer and Adam Casper. We talked about how good of a month Casper had this past month. But Lachase had David Basin, who, as we mentioned, was traded from the Spartans to the Avalanche, leads the league in scoring. Corbin Mealy, who honestly probably a down month compared to some of the previous months that he's had. And then for the third straight month, the winning fantasy player picked Cam Reardon. So
I went with the wrong horse. I went with Carson Fry instead of Cam Reardon.
Well, I mean, I think the thing about Reardon too is like he's always going to get his starts and he's always going to get his saves. And it wasn't, the same number of wins this past month as he had previously. The month that I picked him first was 3 wins, 201 saves, and a shutout. Last month, well, I guess 3 wins again, 238 saves. And then this month, so I'm sorry, Jeff, I didn't pay any attention. It's 3 wins each month, but it's the saves that really stand out because no goalie is in the 200s the same way Cam is. 201 the first month, 238 the second month, 237 the third month. He gets the saves because he gets the starts. That's why guys pick him.
He's got 12 wins too. I mean, the 12 wins will definitely help you there for sure. So it's a good combination. You got to find that combination of saves, wins. I wish we still had those bonus. Remember the days beat a top 5 team, bonus points.
Yes.
Shutouts, shutout top 5 team. There was all sorts of little extra curricular
It was it's just funny though. We got
Points you can collect, points you
three
don't get this.
winners
I
so
can't finish
far.
that.
I was able to win October. Marc-Andre Dumont.
No repeats. No
Yep,
repeats.
Marc-Andre Dumont in November, Joe Lachase in December, which means 2 tickets remain. January, and then we'll call it like February, early March, because we are including the showcase as part of the final month. So once we have those 5 tickets, then that's when you reach the round of champions in the postseason. And I think that was so funny about Joe Lachase, Howard Beach. His message to me, I know I put this, in our group text the other day, but the see you at the big dance with the salute emoji.
Yep.
Like, and what I didn't underrated in his message was he put an X and then dash Joe Lachase, like X, like as in like clinched on like a standings, right?
Right.
Underrated in that message. So
Good emoji talk there, Mr. Lachase.
yeah. So we got myself, a father of an AHLP goalie, and an alumni. So
good parody right there, baby.
Who wins January and February? I don't know, but let's call out some guys that were close. John Attardo had 3 Adirondack players in Cole Davidson, Jim Fitzgerald, and AJ Murphy. He finished just under 9 points out of the lead.
Was that Logan Illife? Is that 3 eyes? I think I've asked this before, but
it's ILLIFE. Yeah, so I think that
Illife.
Yeah,
Illife.
He also had Basin, but he
Basin,
had
Constable, and Bose.
Right.
Yeah.
We mentioned Brooks Wright picking himself there. Katherine Johnson, I would believe mother of Paul Johnson.
Paul Johnson. Yeah.
She had Reardon, another huge month for Aiden O'Connell. He's been great for the Wizards ever since he got there. You keep going down the list. A solid month for I should say Merrick, not Mark Herta. Dan Mealy had picked Corbin, also had Weinman. Weinman's been very consistent all year long.
Yeah, yes.
Sean Myers was close in fantasy a couple months ago in October because of his son Peyton, who had 42 points. That includes 2 hat tricks in December. Yeah. Look at that stretch between 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Everyone had Charlie DiMartino.
Tyler Rago, Trevor Blackburn, Jake Hugeson, Justice Guattari, Jake Basile, Timmy Jackson too. That guy's pretty good at fantasy.
Yeah.
Look at that Mika Kolechian pick. Drew Cody and Jacob Jaslow. I finished in 24th. I'll take that, I guess.
Yeah, I've had 2 terrible months. Following my
42nd for Dale.
Yeah.
Woof.
Yeah, but you know what? I feel fine. I feel fine with where I'm at.
Right.
So
Austin Peterson, Paul Johnson, and Brendan Flanagan did not do you well. Ooh.
The good thing that everybody has now is they have 10 days to get their January picks in.
I'm gonna do.
And we haven't even started promoting this yet. So you know what? I'm gonna check to see if anyone's actually put their picks in already. I mean, this would be pretty early if you did so.
I promoted on all 14 of my games during the showcase. I said, if you want to jump in this month, that's too bad. It's too late. But next month, you're in. Come do it. I'm sad we had less selections this month.
Oh, it was a shorter month, right? So, but now with with an alumni winning, in Joe Lachase, who, as he said, checked it religiously every day throughout the month of December.
Right? Did he say it's like I think I did a little too much? I was like up late and.
Hey, it worked out though. It worked out. So we have 2 tickets left to punch. 1 for January, 1 for February. So you're either going to be in or out of the round of champions. So in a way, Jeff, 1 could be you, 1 could be Anthony, 1 could be anybody else.
1 could be neither of us.
Yeah,
we go home crying.
Well,
still gonna work the frozen final. So
here's the ultimate pressure question, right? If per se I end up being the only member of the E crew that makes it to the round of champions, is it almost more pressure on me to then win? Because I'm now representing everybody else.
Especially because you have such a litany of trophies. You've won an individual fantasy. You've won a team one with me. So now this would be your third different way that you can show you can win in multiple ways today.
I do not cheat, everybody. I do not cheat. I literally just pick the same. You can see what I do. The stats are there. Everything's public. This is a fully,
I've watched you for years. You don't cheat. You go on the spreadsheet,
fully transparent fantasy. So just making that
shut it.
very clear. But we do have a few more podcast episodes coming up during this now holiday break. So we'll talk about what those ones will look like and what to watch for.
And now here's what to watch for in the EHL and the EHLP.
What to watch for is presented by Flow Hockey, the official streaming platform for your EHL and EHLP action throughout the 2023-2024 season.
So coming up next week, after Christmas, it's still kind of crazy to say that, after Christmas.
Yeah. Right.
We will have our still too early. There's your podcast title next week. Still too early finals
still
picks.
Too early? Question mark.
To see, you know what? Let's just to go over some of the picks. Right, North Division.
Yeah.
Spartans, Avs, Wolves, Lumberjacks, Avs, Spartans. We were kind of torn there. East was Wizards, Rangers, Express, Rangers, Wizards, Rangers, Express. A lot of Railers, an Apple Core, a couple of picks in the Central. I mentioned a lot of Bears, Little Flyers, Maryland. And of course, in the EHLP, you got to really start thinking about that at-large bid and where that may potentially come from. Unless there's an upset along the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if we have a situation where this year's regular season champion doesn't even reach the division finals. That's chaotic. That's chaotic, right?
Because it's probably gonna be Rangers or Railers, and if one of those teams doesn't make the Frozen Finals, that's gonna be a crime. They're like literally built the same way. They score a lot, they don't give up a lot. Records are about the same.
Yes. So that's coming out next Thursday, the 28th, as I mentioned, after the Christmas holiday. And then the week after that, January 4th, is actually the day that action resumes for the EHL. It's also episode 200, milestone number. Symmetry. We all love that. We are working on a round table alumni discussion. There could be a lot of voices on this podcast that week, Jeff.
Ooh, I like that. That's great. I love that. That'll be a fun episode.
Yeah, I will not divulge much more than that at this point, right?
Cool. I like a good tease.
There's 2 more episodes coming your way on back-to-back Thursdays. Of course, the second Thursday, action resumes. It's funny. Everyone wants to get to the holiday break, but the holiday break flies by, and then we pick things back up on January 4th, and it is a dead sprint until March 31st, which, again, speaking of symmetry, you know how, like, in my brain, the fact that we end on the final day of March, turn over April 1st, the season's over, my brain's like, no, that's so perfect. It's so perfect.
I can hear your brain breathing.
Yes,
a sigh of relief. You'll be smelling and eating Big Tony's calzones before you know it. In Schneider Arena,
Big Tony. Big Tony.
I ordered Big Tony's the other night. Thought of you guys. I did not get a calzone. I got a wrap. The wraps are also delicious.
I mean, their menu is pages upon pages, so
big.
You could order whatever the hell you want. You probably order 30 different
figure
meals.
out about him dropping the puck.
Yeah,
still figure that out.
Got to figure that out, right?
30 different meals easily, maybe
in a month, right? So,
oh yeah.
But that'll do it for this week's podcast. Missed you, Anthony. Expect you on for the still too early picks next week, and then of course episode 200 the week after that. So I hope everyone gets a chance.
Bloomberg for stealing Anthony.
I hope everyone gets a chance to enjoy the holiday weekend. I know for my family, first and foremost, for myself personally, it's Chase's first Christmas. So I'm sure he'll be more fascinated with the wrapping paper than the actual gifts that he's getting.
Oh, heck yeah. I can see him pounding the wrapping paper now, throwing it across the house, whipping Dad in the head.
We have determined he is a righty because he's been throwing a lot of things with the right hand lately. So we'll see a lot of right-handed wrapping paper throws this weekend.
Nice, Chase. Get that 4-seam ready, Chaser.
Exactly. So enjoy the time, Jeff, and
thanks,
talk to you next week.
You too, buddy. Sounds good, man. See you then.
Thanks for listening to The E Show, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Learn more about us at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on all of your favorite social media platforms. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when our next podcast episode is released.